Hi, Mochismo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you found it helpful to you, and pass it on to someone else you think would benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. Now, I just made a video earlier about the dating sites. You won't find what you're looking for there, and I expounded on somewhat the church and how some of the angelic songstress and songbirds can have their gifting pretty much hijacked, can go under the disguise of being a fruitful church. You know, they take your gifting, seduce you into their fold, and what they're doing is hiding behind your gifting. And this is the narcissist I'm talking about. I had said no apologies about what I meant on the last video, but I do feel compelled to extend that conversation in this video. I'm driving and I don't have my dock, so that's why you're seeing a black screen. Nonetheless, you don't have to see my face. I just care more about you hearing what I have to say. On this video, at least. So, God gave me more to add to that. You can go into the church as a believer. You're a deeply devoted. You are maybe just a person who is solemnly looking for God's guidance, and you want to be a part of an environment that you think could help you do that. When you're sick, you go to the hospital. When you need counseling of any sort, depending on what type of counseling you need, you go to that specific place that you believe can assist you. And church is no exception. You go to the house of God because you know that there is something in your life that is in dire need of change. And you can see, to some degree, people who are worshiping and believing and following in God's precepts, their life is a testament to that. So your intentions are great when you're going into a church seeking fellowship. And a lot of believers go there seeking just that, but they leave disappointed for many reasons. But most of those reasons all can be narrowed down to one reason: narcissistic personality disorder. Now, there's no other explanation or no other maltreatment or mistreatment of a human being, I believe, on the planet Earth that can measure or even hold a candle to narcissistic abuse. Because spiritually, these people are demons. They are devil worshiping, devil devoted, pledged allegiance to life and death do they part. That may not even separate them from the devil and his dominion. In death, they still will be worshiping and following one another. Much like a Christian, a devout believer, devoted believer. So, to encaps everything I'm saying, I want you guys to really hear me well, believers. Like myself, if you've come through narcissistic abuse. I'm not only a believer, I was a believer before I even happened upon narcissism and narcissistic personality disorder. That was the hand of God that allowed me to be able to see that. And you all are sitting here listening to me right now. If you have come through narcissistic abuse and you were a believer or are a believer as a result of narcissistic abuse, count yourself chosen. Count yourself the empath that God has recruited and enlisted to bring about change and right the wrongs of the world. This world doesn't exist in and of itself just because. God created the heavens and the earth and everything that's in it. That's you. He created you. Fruitful and multiply. He didn't say be fruitful and subtract from one another. So that being the case, you who are awakened, you are aware, you all move in authenticity, truthfulness, honesty, pretty much in non-conflicting ways. You move in a peaceable way and you want the same from your fellow man. you are moving and operating in that fashion, you are excluded from the demonic overthrow, because there's something innate in your nature that is going to cause you to navigate through all the mess that you see around you. It's going to cause you not to want to be no part of it. You not want to be nothing like it. And that's what God does. The more he pour his spirit into you and you begin to want to do good and see good in others, it's going to turn your stomach. It's like giving a baby solid food. It's going to make them sick. But you have solid foundation, so you're not privy to the weak-mindedness, the weak stuff that people are trying to force feed you with in the world. So back to church. I've told you before, there's no other environment I can think of that you're most vulnerable in, apart from intimacy. And even in intimacy, you're not as vulnerable as you would be going into a church. Because again, you're going there seeking. You're going there out of curiosity. You're going there for a number of reasons, but all of it borders on you're going there to be led. You're going there not knowing what to expect, but expecting something good. So you're submissive. You're subservient to whatever is being brought to your attention over the airways, through the microphone. That leader is something that you're depending on to guide you. Now, that in mind, that leader who's corrupt, narcissistic, malignant, psychotic, psychopath, borderline, I don't care, all of that equals into a demon. Now, you going there with that heart and you're on the worship team, just like Elevation Worship. I told you in the video before, there are some beautiful people. I'm not going to throw the baby out with the dishwater. I remember at one point though, maybe a year ago, maybe not even, I had determined just not to even listen to anything that had the label Elevation Worship. I had determined that, being honest. And see, I have to be mindful when I walk away from the filth and the foulness of the formalized religion. I'm still not separated from God. And I still shouldn't right way just immediately do away with anybody and anything associated with God. And I don't believe I ever did. But I just made that determination because that was too related to people such as that leadership in Elevation Worship. But that brings about my very point. A lot of those people who have been enlisted and have pledged allegiance to that church, whatever church it is that Elevation Worship sings through. And there's a few churches I can go on about, but I'm not going to get into that. That's distracting. But for point, I've since allowed God to show me where if I reject the formalized church like I have, that doesn't exclude me from having a heart for God's people. And I knew that then, as I know it now, but I have to be very mindful. When my message is going across, I'm not ostracizing believers. I ostracize and despise the despicable leaderships and the people within the fold who are demonically put there on agendas. And we must be watchful and we must be vigilant. How do you become watchful and vigilant? You must know what you're watching for. You must know what you're being vigilant to. So God has allowed you to discover and enlighten you to narcissistic personality disorder and narcissism so that you may truly understand, come full circle with what demons look like as he depicts them in the Bible. You may never see them with the 7, 8 heads, the 5 sets of eyes, the 4 legs, the 6, 8 legs like a spider. You're not going to see them in that physical, tangible form. Probably not in this lifetime, but he's talking about them. So I know at some point somebody will see this, because this is how bad it is when narcissists experiment with all kinds of hocus pocus. And some cases, they are doing this with people and animals. They're crossbreeding animals and people. There is a sexual label called bestiality. And that might seem like I'm getting far-fetched, but I'm not, because this is the levels and the depth and the length that narcissists will go. The devil, the demon. Do you know that narcissists, someone has once said, they're not just bisexual, they're trisexual. They would try anything, and nothing has ever been truer than that statement there. They would do the most atrocious things. You may think that your imagination of sexual pleasures are a little bit raunchy and out of this world, voyeurism and whatnot, but you would not want to know the types of things that narcissists are into. You really would not want to know. And some of you guys who have been involved with some narcissists, you could probably tell the story better than I could. Not that you would want to. Some of the stuff that you're probably deeply ashamed to even say that you, contributed to or enlisted with them. But they catch you off guard. They swoon you, they draw you in with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Before you know, you're to the point of no return. That's in any aspects of that relationship with a narcissist. You'll meet them and they'll be doing a little shady stuff here and there. And I've known this from certain females that have talked out loud about it, but they didn't know that I was reading their mail as they were talking to me. They would identify certain things the person would have been involved with when they first met him, and before you know it, now he's gone up the river or, down the creek, jail, prison, for some of the most atrocious things that that person could ever imagine. And they was like, when I met them, they was just selling a little this and that. Now I didn't know all this other stuff. So you discover things about these narcissists. No different than the church. So when you discover that the leadership in the church is the way that they are and corrupt, sometimes the embarrassment and the shame causes us to stay put rather than to cease and desist. That's my whole point, guys. So with that being said, bless.